Hey everyone, did you ever hear about that king who had no, he was a prince who had a hunchback and then he didn't? Well, we're going to talk about him today and how that hunchback prince can maybe be your door to your getting to your destiny. But first, welcome everyone. Welcome to the Find Your Voice show with Coach Vuyanzi, where we are helping Black women leaders to find their voice from the inside out. I am Coach Vuyanzi. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Now, listen. There's this story about the prince, and I'm going to try to do my best to remember every part of it. So it was this prince who was born like with a really hunched back, right? And he didn't like living like this. So what he did was he had a statue built in the middle of his big palace kingdom. He had a statue built of himself. But hold on. He had it built in him standing in an erect way, right? Standing straight up, not the way in which he stood. So every day he would take his walk around his beautiful grounds on the palace, and he would get to the statue and he would take his hunched self and he would, do some trying to, straighten himself out. And some of the palace workers would see him. You see what he's doing? They knew he had a hunchback, but he kept doing that. And lo and behold, one day, he found himself to be straight. His back actually was straight. So, what are we learning from this today? I know it's a simple story, but I can also parallel it with this. In 2017, I knew I wanted to make a big move in my life, a literal move, an international move. And I just kept thinking about it and I kept talking about it. And I know some people would be like, oh, you want to go to that country? Okay. Maybe people laughed about it. But nevertheless, it took time. In 3 years, which seemed long at the time, but in 3 years, things inched and they inched and they inched to me getting towards that destiny, to the point when in 2020, I realized that everything that there were some, little odds and ends that needed to be aligned, that everything was aligned. And finally, I could make that move that I wanted to make to that other country. Queen, what I want to ask you today is, are you persevering to get to your destiny? Are you persevering? What can you learn from the Hunchback Prince? What can you learn from me? Is number one, put your desire in front of you. Folks, if you're not doing this, how many vision board parties do you have to go to? How many motivational YouTubes do you have to watch that tell you to do some clippings or put it on your phone or do the vision? Like, how many of these do you have to watch before it is that you put your vision in front of you? Put your vision of your destiny in front of you, the way that Prince did by having his statue built in the way in which he wanted to become. And even for me, as I talked about, and actually I did have a vision board, your destiny should be your North Star. That should stay in front of you at all times. So what was the second thing that happened? So in the story, the prince looks at his North Star, the statue, and he's doing whatever it is that he needs to do to straighten his back. Now, a couple of things can be learned from this. Number one, you need to do some type of movement. Number two, it may not seem to be making a difference. But number three, being consistent, to continue doing it, because it's in the consistency where the results will come. And really, that leads us to also in that you have to, and I know, oh man, this thing, you have to not be as concerned with what people are saying. And this is what I mean. Many of you queens will say, oh, I don't care about what other people say, but you kind of do. You kind of do. And I see that repeatedly because, and a lot of times, it's our perception of what we think other people are thinking of us. But this is where, if your destiny is worth persevering for, then you have to really disregard the energy and the feelings around to know that you are headed in the direction that God has purposed for you. There may be some giggling, some snickering, there may be some mocking. In fact, oh, I won't even go there now. But anyway, there may be some giggling, some mocking. People won't understand what your destination is and why you'd even choose that destiny. Notice I'm using destination and destiny interchangeably. But what happens as a result of all of this is the very last thing: seeing the result. Seeing the result and walking in it, and trusting and believing throughout the whole thing that you will get to where it is that you are supposed to be. Queen, keep your destiny as your North Star. Don't give up and persevere for your dream. Until the next time,